Welcome to Becoming Me Again, the interview series that is all about moving from feeling lost, stuck, and invisible to become the woman you know in your heart you truly long to be. I'm Karina.
And I'm Sophie, and together we Reclaim Her. Our guest today is the gorgeous intimacy expert, Allana Pratt. She's a global media personality and go-to authority if you're ready to live unapologetically and create open-hearted, ideal relationships. She's a certified coach, a host of the edgy podcast, Intimate Conversations, and also has close to 5 million viewers on YouTube. She's really passionate about sharing the secrets to creating deeper intimacy and thriving relationships, not only with ourselves, that in the first instance, but after that with others. So we're really excited to be diving deeply into this conversation. Allana, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. On my Zoom screen, I'm sandwiched by the two of you, and it's just delicious. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, it's such a pleasure for us as well, and I know it will be for the listeners. Allana, you've really established yourself as an authority in this space of intimacy and relationships, but we'd love to hear what the struggles or the experiences are that have brought you to this really impactful work. Would you like to share that with us?
Absolutely. Yeah. I wasn't a little girl that said, I want to be an intimacy expert when I grow up. And if quite the opposite, I didn't even have a relationship with myself. I didn't even know I had like an inside. I was so wired, 3 steps ahead, anything to be safe, look good, do it right, get love. Like I was just scrambling, like PhD and people pleaser out there. And when I started to realize, okay, first divorce, second divorce, I'm like, okay, something's in common here. That would be me. Let's have a look at what's going on that I'm not choosing healthy love. I knew enough to know that the outside, I'm a science geek. So, when I interview all the quantum physicists on my radio or podcast or radio show in the past, but podcast now, the inside creates the outside. Intimacy is an inside job. How we feel about ourselves is holographically projected in our relationships out there. And what I noticed was there wasn't a lot of kindness, not a lot of compassion, not a lot of unconditional love, which said, oh my goodness, I've got some intimacy work to do with myself. So I didn't figure that out till way later. So when I was like 19, I left Canada. I'm Canadian, on my Uncle Phil's 18-wheeler semi for Hollywood. I want to make it in Hollywood. I failed, but I had at least the bravery to leave. And I ended up getting a job in Japan. So I lived for 4 years in Japan, and I was a model and a dancer and an English teacher. I remember that's one of the first times I really started to fall in love with my body. I was going to dance at the Four Seasons Hotel, and they paid really well. I'm like, wow, I've never been paid this much. But when I got there to begin the show, in the dress rehearsal where you wear the costumes, I'm like, where are the tops? Like, no, I'm like, oh, that's why I'm being paid a lot of money. Got it. Okay. But I thought, well, no one's going to know. And this is the Four Seasons Hotel. It's not like it's some skanky place, but my God, did I have a growing up experience there. It was one of the first intimate experiences I had with my body, because on my side of the stage, all of the, Japanese businessmen were we called them scabe, horny. And it just felt like icky. But on the other side of the stage, all the French girls, Australian girls, they were like, all the guys on their side of the stage were bowing. And I'm like, what's going on? And I started to learn that they were learning how to transmute men's attention. Just like the ancient practice, the Tibetan practice of Tonglen, where the monks will breathe in the pain and suffering of the world and exhale out love and compassion. These women had learned, because they had a different upbringing, I believe, than I did, to breathe in any judgment about the feminine, and they somehow transmuted it. And over time, I learned that they would say things like, I am a goddess, thank you for noticing. And they would exhale out beauty and radiance and grace out of their eyelashes, out of their fingernails. And the men would leave or step up and bow. And I'm like, okay, I can try this. So next couple nights on my side of the stage, I practiced breathing in. Oh, you think I'm a piece of meat? Thank you. I am a work of art. And I would exhale it out. And they would all start to bow on my side of the stage. Wow. I'm like, oh my God, the inside creates the outside. My beliefs, my energy is in charge. I am not a victim of my circumstances. I am in charge. So it really started, I wasn't an intimacy expert back then. I was like 20, but I started to learn, okay, it's important for me to start to get to know my body, my little you inside my heart. It's important to start to cultivate this relationship. So even though when I moved to the States, I went to Columbia University in New York City. I was an art history major. It was awesome. Moved out to LA, more modeling and dancing, etc. But in that period of time were the 2 divorces. And I'm like, okay, what I started to discover early in my 20s, let's really get to work here and discover what's going on. And I learned actually the second marriage ended in a 12-year custody battle. And I realized that I married him with a closed heart because my mom was dying of cancer. And I really just thought, a man is a plan. I'm just going to have a baby to replace that relationship, which isn't the most enlightened choice, but it was the best choice I could make at the time. And I realized after a year, he was so angry. And I thought, I'm just as angry at myself. My closed heart attracted his closed heart. So it was a 12-year custody battle, which ended in my son choosing to live with his dad. So I lost the house, the savings. I was in $250,000 of legal debt, but at least I had my son. But then one day he chose to live with dad too. And there was no one else on the outside. I'd lost everything and everyone. But what I realized is I really lost myself. I'd really lost myself. So I told my staff, get me a cabin in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown Thursday to Sunday, Monday to Wednesday I'll work. And we just need to do this until I figure this shit out. So as I sat on this deck, crying, writing out all that, no one will ever love me. Everyone will opt out of Facebook when they find out what a hot mess I am. Maybe I'll die alone. I wrote them all down. And then I started to put on either side of the sentence, even though I may die alone, I love and accept myself. And I just kept going through every single self-hatred, humiliation, judgment, shame, mad, sad, all the rest of it, even though I love and accept myself. And after doing this for a few months, I had this total direct experience with the divine where my edges dissolved. I didn't know where I ended and the divine began, and I was home. And I realized it was because I was home with me. That instantly, when we come home to ourselves, intimately, we are at home with the divine. The divine never left. We did. We did. So I found me, and not that there's a perfect place and now I'm one and done and happy all the time. I'm still a hot mess from time to time. I still am in the fetal position from time to time, but it's really just because I keep evolving and I keep expanding. Like this level, I got me. And now I'm developing a partnering app. Oh my God, let me tell you, that's a hard thing. So again, I have my moments, but I come back to center faster and I have my own back. And I remember how to be kind. And I remember how to take things a little less seriously, personally, not be so attached. And this is the journey of intimacy with ourselves, intimacy with our body. And intimacy can go anywhere in your life. You can have not sex intimacy, but transparency, honesty, connection, oneness, vulnerability. You can have these conversations with your children, with your clients. You can have intimate, real, vulnerable conversations with your money, with your purpose. Everything's a relationship. And it can be one of trying to be good enough and do it right, which doesn't work very well and you suffer. Or it can be a heart open, transparent, connected experience, which makes all of life delicious. You don't need to be scared of anyone or anything anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so, gosh, you just said so many things. First of all, everyone go back and listen to that process because that's a really, it's such a simple but potent process for us to go inward. And I'm wondering from the outside and what people might be thinking about this actual journey, about becoming intimate. What if I don't like what I find? What if I start to cultivate this intimate relationship with myself and actually, because lots of us have, I'm bad. There's something inherently wrong with me. I don't quite know what it is, but there must be something, all of those beliefs that we have. Can you speak to that part of your journey as well?
Oh yeah. Well, that was most of it. It's really easy to love the impressive parts. I got through that in 5 minutes, but it was the other stuff that took a long time. So over the last 20 years, I've got lots of certifications and I've taken lots of courses, and I've developed 10, like it's like a framework of, I call them the 10 Allana Pratt method processes. And one of the most profound ones is called the little you process. And while I was sitting on that same balcony, overlooking nature, crying my face off every day and writing that list out, who I met on the inside was little Allana. And in the past, when I first discovered I had an inside, and then I learned how to integrate my feelings and feel my feelings and not push them away or have another glass of wine, I learned that I had a strategy. Okay, I'll go in and find you scared one so that you'll be confident. I'll go in and find you shameful one so that you can be unapologetic. Like I had a strategy. And as I began to get more connected to all these little wobbly parts on the inside, when I came in with a strategy, they were like, fuck you. You don't love me as I am. You don't unconditionally love me. You have an agenda. You have a strategy. You'll love me when. Screw off. That's not only emotionally, that was to the muffin top on my body. Every time I would look in the mirror, I would have something to say about my body. Do you think my body was my partner? Do you think I had an intimate connection with my body? Or even my orgasm? Why don't you have a bigger orgasm? Like I was just judgmental as shit to every part of me. And then one day when I was really, really surrendering, brave, beaten down, and I remember like seeing the image. So I was thinking the thoughts, even though I might die alone, I love and accept myself. And I saw the image. That's the thought. I saw the image of little Allana in the back corners of my heart, turned away from me, black and white, and like this. And I sat there with a little chair. So I saw the image. I felt the emotion of what it was like to be her. God, I was so mean to her. So mean to her. She has every right to be mad at me, abandoned, feeling criticized, feeling close to death. And then I let myself feel the body sensations of how empty she felt, how like on her last breath she felt. Like I just felt it on all these levels. And then I had the inspiration to sit with her and say, you know what? I'm so sorry. I've been judging you and trying to change you. I'm going to sit with you alone in this dark chamber of my heart forever. Even if no one ever loves us, I'm willing to be with you for eternity, even if you never change. And I meant it. I meant it. And something changed. She's like, really? She looked around. Really? You'd love me the way I am, such a hot mess, even if I never change? And I'm like, makes me cry. Like, yeah, I will. I will. And she came home. And that's when that direct experience happened. So we have to mean it. We have to learn to cultivate unconditional love, which means I love you without condition, which means forever, even if you're always a hot mess. Mean it. Have your back that much. It's transformational. And it didn't happen in one sitting. It took months, a lot of tears and a lot of practice and a lot of sincerity and a lot of determination and a lot of resilience and feeling, a lot of feeling and a lot of wine. But anyways, I got there and then I'm like, okay, that was an improvement. That wasn't relief. That was transformation.
Yeah.
And then all the other little yous inside there, they're like, would you be that nice to me? I'm the humiliated one. I'm the manipulated one. I'm the like all this. I'm like, yeah, okay, here we go. And slowly but surely, all these parts started to come home. And the parts that thought, I'm not good enough. I didn't try to fix her anymore. I just said, tell me more, or validate. You have every right to feel that way based on how dad was drunk. Mom was disassociated, whatever. You've like acknowledgement, validation, listening, tell me more, leaning in, sitting in the fire, no attachment, throw out the key, just sit in the dark forever. That's the bravery that's required, but that's the key that's required. And that's the grace, the moment of grace transformation. And it allows me, I hope you like me, but I don't need you to like me. And I hope I meet somebody great to spend the rest of my life with, but I haven't met him yet. And I hope one day maybe Oprah interviews me or something, but if she doesn't, I'm going to live, right? Like I have dreams, I have desires, I show up, I choose for Heartmates to be this incredible new way of dating, because dating apps are designed to keep us single. They make money when we fail at love. They don't make money when we succeed at love. So they're not designed to have our back. And I'm like, that's not okay. So that's why I've designed a partnering app. So we teach people about intimacy training, It's an online curriculum. We practice showing up in these, we call them conscious connection calls. We practice listening by just saying, thank you. We seek to understand, not to be right or look good or do it right. And then everyone they're dating is doing the work. It's different. We become the one to find the one, to keep the one. And so I really choose that it takes off and it changes the face of dating. And I might fail, but it's worth trying because I don't need the outcome to love myself and to give it my all.
Yeah, beautiful. So much richness in that, Allana. I could really relate when you were saying about the coming from a negative perspective and coming down on myself. I remember, for example, when I had a car accident and I put on lots of weight and I'd be going to the gym and I'd be going, hard and mean and aggressive. And I just realized one day it wasn't coming from a place of love at all. And when I realized that, I turned it around and actually shifted, and it made the whole moving forward process much easier. But I guess for many women, there's that, opening up and discovering of self. And I'd love to hear a bit more. You've spoken to some of the word practices and the conversations you had with yourself, but what else? How else can women connect in with that personal love, that self-love in the first instance? Could you talk a bit more towards that?
Yeah, thank you. Feeling is hard when you're smart and you want to think your way into something or out of something all the time. It's safer because the feelings can often feel like we're going to die. If you haven't been taught how to integrate a feeling, you might just dip your toe into fear or shame or self-hatred or something for 2 seconds. But what you resist persists. And
yes.
The worst case scenario that you don't want will grow. But when you fully feel it in these quantum psychology, spiritual technology processes that I've been trained in and I've trained my coaches in, you fully integrate it, you fully feel it all the way through to the other side. It's like an alchemy. It's like lead into gold. And if you can feel, you will get through to the other side and embody that transformation, not just 10 more affirmations to be in a good mood and have a little, I call it sprinkles on top of the ice cream cone of shit. It doesn't work. It's exhausting. It's stinky. It's not good. Right? So it's feeling. And I believe the feminine within a man or within a woman. So this feminine energy, we are powerful. We are powerful beyond measure. We can freaking create a kid and push it out. My God. We very, very powerful. So we have the capacity to feel a lot. But if we don't, to me anyways, I'm sure we can all do this if we all sat in a cave for 30 years, but I'm into efficiency. So when my coach holds me, I can feel all the way. I can surrender and let go because they got me. And when I, as a coach, or I train my coaches to hold space for our clients, when you're held, not judged, I've got your back and I'm fierce love and I got you. You can feel through this all the way to the other side. And so you don't try to be confident. You are confidence itself. You don't try to surrender. You're surrender itself, strength itself, not I'm strong. That takes work. No, I'm strength itself in the face of anything. I am vulnerability. I am stronger in my vulnerability than I am in my, skepticism, etc. And so another practice that's been huge for me, I've been a dancer, as I said, since I was a little girl. But that's about doing it right, doing the right steps, looking good, all the rest of it. But now maybe it's been 12 years or so. In America, they have these things called S Factor, pole dancing. Yes. And I remember when I interviewed Sheila Kelly on my podcast, she was the founder of S Factor. I'm like, oh shit, I'm just going to say it. Everyone's going to opt out of my list now for sure. So I said, oh, I was a topless dancer. She's like, that's fantastic. I go, oh. And she said, get your shameful ass into class and we're going to transform your shame into your naughty provocateur. And so it was through dance movement. And still to this day, my teacher from all the way back then in LA, I live in the middle of Wyoming now. There's 9 horses all around me right now. So it's a very different scene than living in LA. But she still meets with me once a week on Zoom. And we do it on a Friday night. And it's the way I honor myself and I feel the feels of everything that I've compartmentalized to just get through the week. I have this fuzzy blanket and I lie down and it's about 45 minutes. And she's like my body whisperer. I still, to this day, cry pretty much every class. I don't think there's ever a class where I haven't cried. I just had to feel something. And it doesn't even need to make sense. But I just sit on the ground, lie down, and I breathe. And I get out of my head and I just drop into my body and I say, hey, sweet body, what's going on? And I slightly move and I let the breath and the movement elicit the emotion and I let it through. And I've gotten better at it where I don't have to figure it out. Don't have to make meaning out of it. It doesn't have to make sense. I don't have to have like it all written down in my journal. I just let it flow through. Generally starts with tears and then anger. That's my thing. Tears, anger, whatever. And then, I'm a dragon. I'm a goddess. I'm like naughty. I'm goofy. I'm free. And it's just this, it's church. It's church for my body and my soul. And that is another practice that's very, very important, I believe, to all of us, but certainly to women, to move, get out of our heads, get into our bodies. Our bodies know. Yeah.
I can truly honor that journey of feeling is where the transformation lives. It has been for me as well, but also I know that it takes a breath in to go, all right, I'm doing this for myself. I'm showing up in this way for myself. I'm going to allow myself to journey there, and whatever comes out is going to be okay. And it's that real deep permission to be visible to myself as much as it is to be. It's not the outer visibility, it's the inner visibility. Am I willing to see myself? And all the, you talk about, tears and anger and, all those emotions that, aren't always pretty or neat.
Or acceptable. We're not allowed to feel. We can't be too feeling. We can't be too emotional,
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask, we can kind of segue here. I will go that sexy is my learning edge. So, body acceptance, my learning edge, stepping into and embodying, I'm great with the spiritual, I'm great with the mental, I'm great with the emotional, but the physical is the area that I am still learning in. So I'd love to hear, and I'm guessing there's a lot of women who struggle with, bodies and what the hell do we do with them? And they've experienced trauma and they've journeyed and they've birthed and they've transformed, and can you speak to that of how do we come to that place where we can go, oh yeah, baby, you're a goddess, and do we need to rub our boobs? I know that we just leave it in, everyone. So that's how we opened our conversation, how we met, is that we decided perhaps we need to rub our breasts. So there it is. I've snuck it in.
I love it. You're so awesome. So many things I can say about this. So one thing I would like to say is a practice I did that was super, super brave, that began to allow me to get out of my head and really into myself, was I literally looked myself in the eye as I self-pleasured. And I said, I'm going to keep eye contact with the part of me that's so ashamed to be that free, that naughty, that erotic, that whatever. I kept eye contact. And it was, I tried like tons of times, I couldn't do it. And tried. And then finally I did it. And I kept eye contact with that part of me that was having oneness with the universe through my body. And it was profound because it showed me it was sacred. I embodied, I could say it to myself all the time. Your body's sacred. Your body's sacred. Your body's a work of art, but it wasn't sinking in. So that's a very brave practice that I recommend if this is an edge for you. Maybe it's not the first practice. Maybe rub your boobs first like we all did. But eventually it can be very profound, because what I think really helps a lot of us is if we have like our point of view creates our reality, right? So if our point of view is that sex is shameful, our pleasure is shameful, our bodies are shameful, and so it is. But if we have the point of view and we begin to take actions and see and look for the sacredness in our sexuality, the sacredness in our bodies, we'll find it. Whatever you look for, you're going to find. And so, to expand your point of view of what sexy is. I remember when my son was about 2 and he has really long eyelashes. And I remember we were in the play area and the sun was coming through the window and it was like illuminating his eyelashes. And I was like, oh, isn't he so beautiful? He's an angel. And I felt turn on. I was like, I'm a fucking pedophile. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what's going on? I was turned on by my child. That's just wrong and bad. And so I started to get curious around this with different colleagues and this dance movement that I was going through. And I started to realize that our sacred sexuality isn't just bound, sugar, bound, bound. It is, but that's just only a flavor of it. My fierce love and boundaries of believing in myself and protecting my son should anything happen and living my purpose, that heart open, fierce love, that was this sexual energy as well. And so was the idea to write a book. And I've written 6. And do a podcast and all these other things. Wouldn't that be fun to create? Like a flower blossoming or a star, shining, or like this generative energy. Oh my God, that's sacred sexual energy of creation. Oh, that's sexual energy too. Oh, and then this care and the healing of the way I like to be with my clients. Like I remember the day I give myself permission to love my clients rather than say, okay, this is your first session. We're going to do this. Second session, we're going to do like all in my head. I said, oh, fuck it. I just love you. And this energy poured through me to be this healing conduit. Sometimes I would channel dead people. Sometimes I would just know shit. Sometimes I would just listen. Sometimes I would just care. I mean, I just did a retreat in Arizona and I did a couple of VIPs beforehand. And I had my strategy of what I was going to do with this one woman. And she had what she wanted. But then all I said was like, okay, over here, take your braids out, mess up your hair. Let's dance. She was a hot mess. She started crying. I held her. 10 minutes later. Let's sit down. I turned her around, held her from behind. I think she cried for 45 minutes. Said, I've never been held by my parents. And my husband loves me, but he holds me and then he wants to have sex with me. And it's not like he's dishonoring her. She's hot. But there's not that, like she just had never felt safe in her body, just being held by a sister, like ever. And so this idea that our sexual energy is also literally healing. That's all our sacred sexual energy, our life force energy, the chi, the energy that when I exhale and I allow the universe to take the breath through me, not me, but no, just surrender and let the universe breathe you. If we just do it right now, we just exhale and just let life breathe you. If you can really slow down, you can feel the ache of the universe to know itself as you, through you. And it's sacred. And it's creation. And it's sacred sexual energy. So we don't ever have to turn off our sacred sexual energy all day long. We're healing, we're creative, we're healthy boundaries. And we're sexy and can rub our boobs and masturbate and orgasm and do all sorts of fun. So all day long you get, and this is what one of my processes, my Allana Pratt method processes is called making love with life, making love with the universe. We don't ever have to stop penetrating, because we all have masculine and feminine, right? So we don't ever have to stop penetrating the world with our genius and our light, nor do we ever have to stop being penetrated by the sunset, the sunrise, by the taste of something delicious, by someone's compliment. Let it penetrate you, let it in, right? All day long, we're making love with life, and it makes for deliciousness. It makes for confidence from the inside out. It makes for youthfulness. It makes for, I mean, I do work out and I do eat fairly well, but I don't like navigate I'm not nitpicky about any of it. I just say, okay, sweet body, what would you like to do? Oh, we haven't done yoga in a while. Let's do that. And I fit into my clothes and I don't have to worry about it. So you get the results of what all this hard work and judgment might get you, but you get it through grace and joy. And I don't have like a husband, but I don't have a lack of masculine attention. And so it's quite lovely. And so I'm like, and this is also important, doing all this work. I was expressing in a podcast I did earlier today, I'm 52 and on my 52nd birthday, I had just broken up with somebody and I'd fled. I got myself an Airbnb and I was going to go to India because my app is being developed in India. And I was going, I'm just going to go to India and they were going to take good care of me and give me a house and a car and a cook. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. It wasn't working out. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake. And there I was on my birthday. And I was watching Eat, Pray, Love because I was getting ready for India. I had my champagne, I had my filet mignon. And I was all of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? I'm all alone. And I'm not lonely. Wow. I feel connected to myself. I feel connected to the people that love me, the people that I have the honor and privilege of serving and contributing to, and I'm connected to the divine. God, I'm so glad I do the work. And it was like happy tears, not sad tears, that the work works. And I do my work. I have like 3 coaches, 4 coaches, got a dance teacher, the one I roll around with on Fridays. I got a yoga teacher. I got workout ones that are like, squeeze your belly more. And like, I show up for life. I have structure. But I have this flow within the structure. You know, it's worth it. It's worth doing the work. I can't imagine not. You feel more joy and you have the capacity to feel more pain. You have the capacity to live fully, suck the marrow out of it all, resist nothing, allow all, as a practice, not perfection. I'm certainly not perfect. Yeah. And what is the title of this? Becoming You, coming home to you. What was it called again?
Becoming me again.
Becoming me again, which is like full circle. How can we know forgiveness if we haven't been betrayed? How can we know who we are if we haven't lost ourselves? So there's like nothing wrong here. Nobody's late. Nobody's made a mistake. This is the path.
Yes.
It's a winding journey, isn't it? What you're saying as well, that it's not, you know, am I right in picking that it's not going to be always great, and, you know, that it's a journey that you keep having to come back to.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. My coach this morning, my very first call, workout at 8. My first call was at 9. My coach is like, how are you? I'm like, ah! It's like, yeah, that was just a couple hours ago. So every day is a journey. But when you have the tools and you have the support and you have the path and you have this deepening relationship with yourself, every day is one to be appreciated and savored. And while you might want different circumstances to be different, you can look back when you lay your head on the pillow and go, I lived fully today. I have no regrets. If for any reason today's the last day, I have no regrets. And there's a peace and you sleep deeply and you wake up like, okay, got another day. All right, let's do this. Yeah.
Beautiful. I've been thinking about, you know, women who are looking in and who are going, yeah, I want to live unapologetically, but, you know, they've got 4 kids or 2 kids and they're doing the washing up, and, you know, their husband has a plumber's crack, and you know, like, I'm not sure that's the best example, but you get the picture. You know, they go to work, they're working hard all day, they're coming home, they're tired. It's like, what can they do? What could they start with just today that might bring a new perspective into their life and a glimmer of light so that they can start on this journey?
Yeah. They don't have more time. So asking them to do more is not going to work because they're barely keeping it together with what they've got. So it's doing what you're doing with more pleasure and letting go of trying to do it perfectly and having fun being a hot mess. I remember it was like dinner time and single mother, and I've got this attacking ex-husband for 12 years of custody battle, right? So different, but same, right? And it's time for dinner. So, but here's this one moment where we all can make dinner. And so I'd make dinner, but I would take an extra 10% of energy, which was hard to find because I was already exhausted. But what you invest and then what you get back, right? Return on investment. So I'm like, okay, where do you want to have dinner tonight? And he's like, the driveway. I'm like, okay, grab some blankets. So dinner, which would be so much easier just to put on the table and put on a video and check out and have a glass of wine. That was so much easier. And it took something. It took 10% more energy to go, okay, driveway. Get the macaroni and cheese, get the blankets, get the pillows, get the matching game, get the music. But we'd go out in the driveway and the sun was setting and we had an experience. We had an experience. And people walking by, we say, hey, and then we would like suck the marrow out of that moment so much more that it fed me back 100%. I put in 10, I got back 100. And so all these little moments, if you just say, how could I make this moment more pleasurable, more real, more authentic? Sometimes the moment was, I can't even be present to you. I'm so cranky. And I'm like, okay, I need to fill up my bucket. I need a timeout. That's where Mom's going to fill up her bucket. Here's your movie. There's your dinner. And then a couple of years later, he's like, Mom, I need to fill up my bucket. Like, oh my goodness, I'm teaching him how to take care of himself, have healthy boundaries, put himself first. Wow. So even if you think you're not being a good mom that day and you just need like time out, showing them in an honoring way what it looks like to choose yourself, to fill up your tank, teaches them about healthy boundaries so they don't say yes to all their friends and yes to drink and drive and yes to all these things that they might say yes to. You're teaching them early on. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to need what you need. So that's another way to fill up your tank that way. And this other way, I'd train poor son. But anyways, he got the hang of it. I couldn't get up at 4:30 or 5 or 5:30 or 6. Like I'm just a bitch. And so I trained him like 7:00. You can't come in my room until 7:00 because mommy's looking for patience and kindness. If you come in before that, she will not have found it. And you, he's like, 3 nights of sleep training, turning him around, putting him back in his room, hand on the small of his back, 7:00. Third morning comes in, Mom, it's 7:00. Have you found your patience and kindness? Yes, I have. And that's all because of you. That started since he was like 4. And it teaches him boundaries, and it teaches me I can create anything. I just might have to get a little creative and be a little resilient. But in the morning, I would then set my alarm for 6:00, and maybe I just press snooze till 7. Maybe I would self-pleasure. Maybe I would meditate. Maybe I would journal. Maybe I would dream. Maybe, like whatever. But I created time for me. I was not willing to be a victim any longer. I was going to create it come hell or high water. And that's one way you can do it. So you have to be willing to ask for help, need to be willing to be creative, need to be willing for them not to like it right away, because you know you're doing it for the highest good of all. You're not doing it to be a bitch. You're doing it because when mom is happy, everybody's happy. Right? And so we are not smaller than our circumstances. That's a point of view. But when you allow in this sexual energy, sacred sexual energy, when you allow in more pleasure, when you allow in a little messy, when you allow yourself to get creative, you become bigger than your circumstances. And even if they don't like it initially, they'll eventually love it that mom is more present. Mom is more playful, right? Mom is having more pleasure with the smallest things, which is sexy to the hubby. And then you say, oh, it would just make me so happy if you'd take out the trash. It would just get so juicy. That'd be so great. It's so different than, why did you take out the trash? Who wants to take out the trash when you talk to them like that? Nobody, right? So you have to be inviting and alluring and playful about it.
And rub your boobs a bit, maybe, you know.
Exactly.
I want to add just in here some mum tips. So you've just named a few. We love floor picnics in our house, putting candles out around it. We move the TV or the projector out on the deck and do that. And cubby house picnics instead of, even with teenage adult children, you can still create a cubby and sit in there and force them to have dinner on the floor. So there are a couple of extra ones that you can ramp up, and dance parties.
Oh, yes. Very nice. And feeding each other with your fingers. Macaroni and really messy dinners. That's fun too.
Yeah, Brenda and I do that with popcorn in the movies. It's like, it's nice.
It's bringing the senses in, isn't it? You're working with all the different senses there. Maybe have a chat more to that, Allana, as well.
Yeah, well, we're embodying this, right? The pleasure doesn't occur. I suppose that the brain is probably the biggest sexual organ there is. Yes, that's true. And there's so much sensuality that brings us into the moment, into gratitude for the moment, into pleasure for the moment. And it also is the same practice of feeling into the pain, feeling into any of the fears. We just have to be able to be in our bodies. It doesn't take really much longer than 10 seconds to really feel pain fully, to have a little bit of relief, right? Or to feel sadness fully. Like last night on my group, I do group coaching calls and private calls and retreats. I do lots of things, but on weekly group calls. And she was going into the divorce settlement tomorrow. She's going into the divorce settlement tomorrow. And he had left her for someone else. And she just wanted to kill the woman, just wanted to kill her. But it was in the way of negotiations because there was revenge and there was victim and there was blame and all the rest of it. So on the group coaching call, I'm like, all right, put her out in front of you in your mind's eye. Now do what you want to do to her and say what you want to say to her. Just let it out in a safe place where we're not going to sabotage the divorce settlement. We're not going to put you in jail or anything, but like feel what you really want to feel. Chop her into pieces, give her to the sharks, whatever. Rah! It didn't take longer than 10 or 15 seconds. And then you know who she was really mad at? Herself. Put yourself out in front of you. Have a word with yourself. Go. Feel. Again, only 10 or 15 seconds. It's not like it was 10 hours. Yeah. But after that, what's next? Tears. Feel. I got you. Feel. Feel like a failure. Feel. 10 seconds. Feel. After that, peace. Feel that. Feel the peace. And then there was nothing. Feel that. Feel the limitless, expansive nature of who you truly are. It all happened with under 5 minutes, with all the rest of the group watching, holding space, going through the same process in their own way. The whole group transformed. 5 minutes through feeling. So feeling pleasure or feeling pain, feeling life is such a key to our potency, our power, our peace. Yeah, it brings you back to presence.
Have you got tips on that, Allana, specifically within a relationship space? So obviously you're in a group environment, but for me, for example, with my husband, I know that sometimes when I get into that feeling space, it throws him off, and he feels like he'll say, you're very emotional, and he's very logical. So it's hard to kind of cross the bridge and do it in a way that feels rich for both of us.
Yeah. Yes. So I often tell men, like, she's weather. Just know she's weather, and you're the captain of the ship, and she's just going to do weather, right? To give them a kind of a context. There's no fixing. You're a captain on a ship. You're not there to like try to harness the wind. You can't. It's not possible. So you're not going to harness her. So don't even try. So that's like one kind of context. But before the emotions happen, create an agreement. I don't need you to fix me. You can just say nothing. You can just say, just tell me more, whatever. And tell them to ground like a tree, roots into the center of the earth, wide branches, and just be your rock, be your space holder. Just be. And then praise him, like let him know ahead of time, this is where I need you to be, the tree. And he's like, right, okay. And then you just let her loose. And then when you're done, praise. Thank you so much. Thank you for just being with me. I needed you to have my back just to go through this. I couldn't have done it without you. You're my hero. I love you. Thank you. Right? So the praise at the end, set him up to win, give him context for the logical, set him up to win, praise him at the end, and practice. Because that dynamic, that's like when you're upset. But what if you're feeling like alive in bed and he's like, whoa, who's this girl in bed tonight? Like it could happen anywhere. It's not just like the negative, right? It could happen in any moment. And so if that context is set, so tonight I'm feeling a little different. Can you just like welcome whoever I am and just be okay? Or sometimes you're making love and all of a sudden you start to cry. Oh my God, what has he done? Nothing. I just need to cry. Just set them up. Like it would mean the world to me if you would be my hero. If could you just very, very clear instructions and then praise. And it tends to be quite rich. That's one practice. And another practice we do on these in my Heartmates partnering app, every week we do conscious connection calls. And the structure is a dyad. And a dyad is a two-way communication, question, answer, thank you. That's it. No rebuttal, no justification, no, well, this happened to me too. Just thank you. And it creates such safety for speaking because you know all they're going to do is say thank you. No rolling up the eyes, nothing. And thank you doesn't even mean I agree. You could think they're batshit crazy. But it's about, I understand, I hear you, I get you. That's really what we want. Our ego wants to be safe, look good, do it right. But our soul just wants to be gotten. Just understand me, just get what it is to be me right now, right? And so this communication, dyads, we do in these conscious connection calls, singles or couples, they all come because it's a great communication practice. You can do it with yourself too. But in a relationship, if once a week you have a dyad, and questions could sound something like as simple as, tell me something you like about me. Thank you. Tell me something you think we align on. Builds affinity, right? They're on the same team. Tell me something you're afraid to tell me. Tell me a way you like to be loved. Tell me a way you like to be touched. Tell me something you want me to understand, but you think I don't fully understand. Tell me something about you and oral sex. Tell me something about you and the kids. Tell me something about you and money. You can talk about anything. And we have all sorts of these different questions and a whole like list of them in our resources so that when you're out on a date, you could talk about the kids, you could talk about work, you could talk about stuff where you can go, hey, I know I've known you for 10 years or 20 years. Tell me what you love about me. Tell me what you love about being married. Tell me what's hard about being married. And just listen. You can go so deep. You do that once a week on date night or go for a walk or go for a drive. naked in bed over dinner, drop in fast, and safety, safe to be intimate because no one's going to interrupt anybody. And it creates such gorgeous connection. There have been couples that have come into my coaching program. One had an affair. The other one had an affair to get back at that one, got pregnant. They kept the kid. And then they came into my coaching program. I'm like, okay, I've got some work to do with you two.
Yes.
And these dyads, oh my God, they're such an inspiration. They're such an inspiration. They literally look at the kid now, not as the problem or the reminder of pain, but as the inspiration of unconditional love of self and each other. So beautiful.
Yeah, I can feel how powerful that practice would be.
Beautiful.
I'm aware we're just about out of time. So I wanted to see, this is the Becoming Me Again interview series. So I just wanted to see if there's anything you would like to leave our beautiful listeners with, something that says, this is what I would love to share with you about becoming me again.
Thank you. Yeah, the most important relationship we can ever have is with ourselves. And everything that's happening on the outside that's going well is a reflection of how much you love yourself. So congratulate yourself. And anything that's happening on the outside that's not so pleasant, just have a look if that's the way you might be behaving towards yourself. If you're getting criticized on the outside, not to condone their behavior, but to go, where am I critical of myself that I can shift or change? So this is a way of looking at the world through intimacy. And then as a morning and evening practice, when you wake up or go to bed, hand on the heart, hand on the belly or the yoni. Hey, sweet thing, what have I not slowed down enough to hear? What do you want to let me know? And just begin that very simple 1 minute, not so long, practice of connecting in with yourself. Because when you're connected home and you've got your own back, whether you're a hot mess or triumphant and magnificent, whatever the day holds, you can be in more allowance of what life throws you, and you can come back to center more quickly, and you can be that safe presence that people are just like, I don't know what it is about you. I just like it. I like to be around you. I feel safe around you. I feel more myself around you. I feel inspired. And that's just being a leader without even trying. That's like being a role model, like an inspiration. And all it really comes down to is just loving you, just loving yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yeah, powerful. We have one last question that we ask all of the women that we speak to, that we're interviewing. And what is the one thing that you do that takes you to your happy place?
A long list.
You can throw in a couple of bonus ones as well.
Okay. I really like to be a girl, like the girly like dress up and the jewelry and the lip gloss and the makeup and the sparkly undies from Victoria's Secret. And I like all that stuff. When I adorn myself as a goddess, I feel, even if it's like no makeup, I'll still put the hoop earrings on, right? Like just a little something just to celebrate sass, sexy. Yeah. Just for me. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Great.
That's gorgeous. Allana, we know that you also have a gift that you'd like to share with the gorgeous goddesses on the other end of this speaking piece. What's that special gift?
Yeah, thank you. I have blind spots. I can't see them. You have blind spots. You can't. That's why they're called blind spots. We can't see them. And quite often we'll spin in our heads, judging ourselves of why we can't shift our relationship with ourself, our body, our sexuality, our partner, our dating, our marriage, whatever. And so I've developed what's called an intimacy blind spot assessment. And it takes you through to discover what's really going on. Somebody might complain, there's no good men. And the quiz will go, well, what do you love about that? Oh, well, I love that I don't have to risk getting hurt again. I love that I don't have to show up. I love that I don't have to forgive. There's a lot of things you're going to love about this thing that you think is the problem, no good men, when really it's deeper. So I call that the blind spot. So it's going to show you what's really going on so you can take your power back, because unhealed heart wounds literally are programmed to repel love. And our brains can't figure it out. It's beneath the chin. It's beneath the chin. So I call that a blind spot. And so it's complimentary. You can take the quiz and discover how you can take even more of your power back to heal your heart and have that intimate relationship with yourself, the divine, and others.
Yay. Yay. Well, we have to conclude this beautiful interview. I feel very sad about that because
Me too.
So much we could talk about. So we just want to say a very big and beautiful, heartfelt thank you for showing up in all your glory and all your just beautiful, open-hearted vulnerability and sharing your powerful message and voice with this series and with, you know, the beautiful women watching. So thank you. It's been
thank you. It's a big deal to put on a series like this. So thank you for all the work that you've done to put it on in the beautiful space that you've held. And when I get to Australia again, I will look you up.
Look us up. You're very welcome.
Together.
We would love that. We would love that, Allana. Thank you so very much. That was rich and deep and potent, just beautiful. I enjoyed it a lot. And as I'm sure all our gorgeous goddesses are listening will have just been full of this as well, because it's just been glorious. Thank you. And to each of you gorgeous women, please join us again tomorrow. It's been such a pleasure having you here, and grab those moments, live those moments, and let us know what you've done today, what you've done tomorrow and next week. What are those pieces that Allana's spoken to you about that you brought into your life? We'd love to hear it. Much love, much joy to each and all of you. Thanks so much. See you.
Bye.